Hi everybody, good morning and welcome to the class. I hope that you are having a good morning, and the plan today is to continue with the free English classes on Facebook Live. I hope you have been enjoying the classes and we will continue with the same structure, and the idea is to help people learn English and maybe to help people access classes who cannot afford to access classes and maybe who cannot afford a teacher. So because of the pandemic, because of the restrictions and all the changes, it's a good opportunity for me to reconstruct and to rebuild my work. And I'm working from a little space finally. And fingers crossed I can continue working in this way. We have a lot of people working from home, and I moved from Madrid. So hopefully we continue little by little to practice some classes, and you hopefully can learn a little from the class. Um, so I hope you enjoy the class. The structure will be the same more or less as yesterday. Okay, we have an introduction first in relation to grammar. This is very important. Every day we look at the grammar topics at the beginning of the class, and during the class I mention a lot of the technical vocabulary. So for this reason, the introduction document is very important. After the introduction document, I continue with an exercise. So yesterday was part 2, the day before was part 1, and today is part 3 of the exercise. A very interesting activity and an interesting exercise to practice. And if we have time, we can continue with an article in relation to a new series on Disney. So the name of the series is The Mighty Ducks. Well, the original movie was The Mighty Ducks, but they have a new series on Disney, and that's the intention today, to analyze the vocabulary if we can. And of course, phrasal verbs and idioms, we will concentrate on this. Speaking is possible, and towards the end of the class, I will give you the code and I will give you the ID to connect on Zoom if you want. Because yesterday, I think I had some difficulty with the connection because the class cancelled, the class disconnected before the finish, and you missed all my funny jokes. And also, there seemed to be a little problem on the Facebook page with the video. So I don't know what happened yesterday. So fingers crossed, we have no big problems today in relation to connection and in relation. Important to check sometimes, and that's key as well. So we had some difficulty this week with the video and with the connection, so fingers crossed today will be fine and today will be good. So the camera, I have two cameras. This is the Apple camera, but previously I had a different camera and maybe it was better, but we continue with the Apple camera for the moment, and the back is the green, but it's possible to change the pictures during the week. This picture here is from Dublin. So this morning on my Instagram page I posted this picture, and it's a very famous street in Dublin, and you can see some old buildings but empty. The street was empty, and some really nice pictures as well. So that's one picture, and this is the empty street as well. Okay, so some nice pictures on Instagram. You are welcome to join the Instagram. That's the page Ad Miliora Inglés. I have some pictures from Dublin, but also some advice in relation to English and some clips in relation to the class. Twitter is possible with the similar content, maybe the same content, and YouTube channel has the full classes after every live class. I upload the full class to YouTube every day. Okay, I hope you can understand me. I hope it's possible you can understand me clearly. We have people with very different levels of English. We have people from very different parts of the world, and we have people who have attended regularly and people who are new. So if today is your first class, welcome and thank you very much. And hopefully you are familiar with the structure and you will enjoy the class. Okay, so here we have special classes. So for example, every morning I have started a new project. At 9 o'clock we have a speaking session available for anybody. So if your level is low, if your level is high, It does not matter. You are welcome to attend. You are welcome to join the speaking class in the morning at 9 o'clock every day, approximately 1 hour on Zoom, and you can join the WhatsApp group. We have a specific group from WhatsApp to book and reserve your place, so you can see the link on the Facebook page. Also, we have the free classes now at 11:15 every day from Monday to Saturday. This is the plan, and fingers crossed we can continue with this schedule and with this timetable. Also, there is a specific webinar every day. So today at 4 o'clock in Ireland, we have a specific webinar dedicated to the IELTS exam. Okay, and we have 2 or 3 people booked already today, and you are welcome to join and to attend the webinar dedicated to IELTS today at 4 o'clock. Just contact me and I can give you the details. Okay. So that's all the important information in relation to the classes. First, I want to give you the introduction document. So this document, let me find it, is the most important document. Okay, in my opinion, this is the most important document, and I will share the screen because it's the base, it's the foundation, it's the key of English. And every morning we look at this document because it's important. Okay, so this is the content of English. The majority of classes are the same. The majority of teachers have the same content. The majority of schools have the same content. So if you learn English, it's necessary you are familiar with this document. Okay, and for me, there are 3 sections. The first section is use of English. For me, this is maybe the most important section. The second section are the tenses. So when you speak in English, you need to be sure, you need to be aware of the different concepts of the time, the present simple, the past, the future. So this area of tenses is very important as well. And today I want to introduce very briefly just the vocabulary in relation to the technical vocabulary for the tenses. And finally, we have a section of grammar. Again, just to explain the technical vocabulary and to explain the key words in relation to grammar, because during the class I mention frequently the vocabulary in relation to grammar, and it's necessary you are familiar with the vocabulary, especially at the beginning. This is the intention, this is the purpose, this is the idea of this document. Okay, so there are 3 sections. As I said, the first section is important because when you speak English, we have English in Ireland, we have English in England, Scotland, Wales, United States, Australia, Canada, New Zealand. We have lots of different accents. We speak different velocities. So some people speak very slow, some people speak very clear, but some people speak really, really special and really unique. And it's difficult for you learning English. It's difficult to catch the words, it's difficult to catch the significance. And for me, this is probably the most important area. With my friends, with my family, it's probably difficult for you to understand the conversation. And my intention for the class is to try to help you with the expressions and the vocabulary that we use very informally, very normally, but it's maybe difficult and different compared to a book. Okay, so that's my idea and my intention for the class. And the next 2 topics are related to this. So we have phrasal verbs, and phrasal verbs are very unique and particular to English. They are a verb plus a preposition combined, and they can mean literal significance or can be completely different significance. And this area of the phrasal verbs are very, very important. And we use phrasal verbs all the time, every moment, with family, with friends. They're very short, very small, but if you do not know the second significance, you can lose the significance of the sentence completely. So for me, phrasal verbs are key, and they're very, very important, and they're very unique to English. So for you to master English, to really control and understand English, it's necessary you are very clear with the list of phrasal verbs. We have thousands of phrasal verbs, but really they're very common and they're very important. Similarly with idioms. So we have idioms in English. Idioms in Spanish is probably frases hechas, and we use idioms all the time in conversation. We use them in writing, and they're a big, big part of English. So for sure, these two areas are probably the most important areas, because most people like you have probably studied a lot in school. You have studied grammar, you're familiar with grammar, you're familiar with the tenses, no problem. The majority of people, yes, some people do not know, but the majority of people have a good foundation, a good base. You probably need to practice speaking, you need to practice communicating, and you need to be aware of the expressions and the phrasal verbs we use. So for me, I'm sure that's probably your case. You need to practice speaking English and you need to understand people speaking, okay? So these two areas, phrasal verbs and idioms, are the key, okay? Conversation, but pronunciation is important, of course, in English, and we have some words that are key and different for pronunciation in English. The tenses. So basically, the tenses, when you speak in English, we have some different concepts, okay? So we have the concept of the simple, we have the present simple, which is one action you do in the present. We have the past simple, and we have the future simple, okay? So one action completed in the past, but we have a lot of irregular verbs in the past, and this is very, very difficult because we have a lot of irregular verbs in the past. Regular is normally ed, look, looked, ask, asked, but irregular, we have a lot of irregular verbs, okay? Drink, drank, go, went, and this is difficult. The next idea is the continuous. We have the present continuous, the past continuous, and the future continuous, where the action happens continuously in the future, the present, or the past, and the construction is typically I am eating, I was eating, I will be eating, okay? That's the simple and the continuous. The next idea and concept is the perfect, and the perfect is very, very important. We have the present perfect and the past perfect and also the future perfect. But the construction of the present perfect is usually I have eaten, so the participle, auxiliary, extra verb, and the subject. I have eaten my breakfast. It's finished, it's completed, but it is related and it's relevant to now because I am not hungry at the moment. So this is the present perfect. The past perfect is very, very similar, except the construction, the verb to have is in the past. I had eaten my breakfast. So the past perfect is used usually before another action in the past simple. So I had eaten my breakfast before my friend contacted me. That's the concept, the idea of the perfect. It's very similar to the past simple, and don't worry too much, just be aware and to be conscious of the tense. We also have the future perfect, which is a little advanced, okay? And they are the most common and the most important tenses in English. The next idea is the infinitive. So the infinitive is the base, it's the foundation of the verb, and typically in English it's to go, to eat, to drink, to walk. This is the infinitive, and during the class I mention the infinitive frequently. The next idea are the conditionals. So in the book, in any English book, the theory for the conditionals are a little complicated and a bit stressful, because in the book you can see zero conditional, first, second, third, mixed conditional in the book. A little heavy, a little difficult, but in reality it's a bit more flexible in my opinion. It's related to if and the time. If it rains today, I will not go to the city centre. If I meet my friend tomorrow, I will ask about the football. So basically, the conditional is important in English. It's a big area. In the book, it's a bit serious and a bit heavy, but in reality, it's a little less strict. Okay, and this area is the conditional, is important. The final area in relation to tenses, in my opinion, that's common is the active and the passive. So the typical active structure is the subject, the verb, and the object. I drink coffee, that's the active, okay, subject, verb, object. But to create the passive, we change the position. The coffee, we introduce extra verb to be, is drunk, the participle of the original, by me. So that area of the active and the passive is very fluent, very common, very advanced, and very impressive in English. So you need to be very familiar with all the different tenses: simple, continuous, perfect, infinitive, conditional, active and passive. They are the most important concepts. During the class, I mention the vocabulary frequently. Okay. Finally, the most important concepts in relation to grammar, we have a noun. So a noun is a person, a place, or a thing. Hand, hat, head, noun, noun in Espanol, substantivo. So a noun, you need an article. Is it a hat, the hat? We have two articles. A hat is the indefinite, or the, which is the hat, the definite article. So there's two articles, indefinite and definite. There is one exception. When the noun begins with a vowel, a, e, I, o, u, the article is usually an. For example, apple, an apple. So the article is important in relation to the noun. We also have an adjective. So the function of the adjective is to describe the noun. So the function is to describe the noun, and the position of the adjective is before the noun. Okay, so a house, a big house. That's the general structure in English. Article, noun, adjective. We also have adverb. So the idea of the adverb, the function of the adverb is to describe better the verb. The verb to drink, to go, to walk. The adverb is typically ly, quickly, happily, rapidly. So typically the adverb ends in ly, you can see here, quickly, slowly, softly, and it describes the verb. Okay, that's the function of the adverb. Also, with relation to nouns, we have the idea of countable and uncountable. This is important. If you can count the noun, or if it's impossible to count. Water, air, chocolate, time, it's impossible to count. People, televisions, books, cars, yes, it's possible to count. This is important in relation to how much and how many. So in relation to countable, how many people, how many books, how many pens. In relation to uncountable, how much water, how much energy, how much time. So that idea, countable and uncountable, is very important. Similarly, with the adjective, we have the comparative and the superlative. So you are good, but he is better and she is the best. Okay, so we have comparative and superlative. That area is important. We also have a special category of verbs in English called modal verbs. Okay, and modal verbs, we have a list. For example, can, could, may, might, shall, shall, should, ought to, and must. They are the most typical modal verbs. Can is related to permission and ability. I can play the guitar, it's my ability. I can enter the room, it's permission. Could, may, and might are for possibilities and options. I could go to the city centre, it's an option. I may, I might. They are very, very similar. May and might are possibly a little more formal and a little more polite. That's the only difference between the three. Shall is almost the same as will. Shall we watch the match? Shall we go to the city? It's a question, will. It's a little formal. It's maybe a little old English, but it's still very, very common. Should is typical for advice and recommendation. So my advice for you, you should read this book. You should study this topic. You ought to study this topic. So these two have the same significance. The G is just silent. You should and you ought to. And finally, must is obligation. So you have no choice. You must collect the children. You must read this book. You must speak with your friend. It's obligation. You have no choice. Okay, so they are modal verbs. The key rule is the next verb after the modal verb. We eliminate two. So you can go. You might eat. That's the rule. The error is you can to go. That's the error because it's necessary to remove to after the modal. It's an exception, it's a rule. Okay, that's very important. It's a common error and a common mistake, so be careful. Prepositions. So in English, we have approximately 150 prepositions. They are very, very small words, prepositions. They are related to direction, they are related to movement, and they're related to position. So I speak, but I speak in general, but direction, I speak to you. Okay, again, look, I look in general, and direction, I look at you. Okay, direction and movement, I go across the road, I go under the bridge. So for movement, direction, and position, the bottle is in my hand, the bottle is under my hand, over, beside, in front of, behind. Prepositions are key. They are a big, big part of English. especially in relation to phrasal verbs. You have the verb and the preposition, and the preposition can change the significance completely. Also, the prepositions are typically associated with emotion in relation to the phrasal verb. Up is positive, happy, creation. Down is negative, destruction, depressing. So there's definitely a significance and a connection with emotion and the prepositions in relation to phrasal verbs. Okay. The next area is very important as well. We have possessive adjective, we have possessive pronoun, and the object pronoun. That's the technical word. Basically, the difference between my bottle, your bottle, his bottle, her bottle, our bottle is the adjective. Okay. Then we have the possessive pronoun. The bottle is mine, the bottle is yours, the bottle is his, hers, ours. So you need to be very careful, especially in the masculine and the feminine. And then finally, the object pronoun. I give the bottle to you, I give the bottle to him, I give the bottle to her. So that area is important, and it's a frequent confusion. So you need to be very clear with this area, these three areas. The difference between this, that, these, and those is important. The difference between another, other, the other, the others is also very important. And during the class, I explain the significance. We also have questions. How to create, how to construct the question is a big topic in English. And during the grammar webinars every Monday, I focus specifically on grammar topics, and questions will be one topic soon in relation to the grammar webinars every Monday. Okay. The next area is called the suffixes and the prefixes, and this is a little clue, it's a little secret to help you learn English a lot. So normally the end of the word, the suffix, is a big indicator, it's a big clue, it's a big support, it's a big help to identify the form of the word. Is the word a verb? Is it adjective? Is it noun? Is it adverb? And for example, ANCE is typically the noun, the importance, okay? That's typical noun. IZE is typical verb. Realize, monetize, fantasize, verb, verb, verb. ABLE is maybe adjective, manageable, achievable, reachable, three adjectives. LY is typically adverb, quickly, slowly, rapidly, softly, typical representation of the adverb, etc. Okay, so the prefix and the suffix is a big indicator, in my opinion, for the form of the word. Very big, good area to focus on and to study. Okay, linkers. So in English we have some linkers, we have some very basic linkers, but we have more advanced linkers, and this is very important if you're preparing for an exam and you need to impress with linkers. But we use linkers a lot. Furthermore, having said that, moreover, they're advanced, so we have a lot of advanced formal linkers, and they're important. Okay, and that's it. So that is the introduction for today. They are the most important terms and the most important technical words. During the class, I mention frequently the technical words: phrasal verb, idiom, past perfect, present perfect, modal verb, preposition, adverb. We've a lot, and this is the list, and it's very important you're familiar with the list, because during the class I use them frequently. After the class, I put the document at the bottom of the page. Okay, exams are very popular, exams are very important, so some people need exams, and I prepare specific webinars in relation to exam preparation. Today we have the Ielts webinar, tomorrow the advanced webinar, Saturday we have the first certificate webinar. So there are different webinars available to attend, and they focus specifically on exams. Okay, good. So that document is clear. I just want to check we are still online, because let me check that we are still working. Good, I'm happy, because yesterday we lost the connection, so I hope that is okay. Okay, so today, now I want to focus on an exercise. This is a very, very interesting exercise, and it's good practice. These are typical exercises from exams, maybe from the Cambridge exam, okay? But it's a very good activity to learn English in general. You can see a lot of vocabulary, you can see a lot of expressions, and for this reason, I want to show you this exercise. So we have one article, the topic is tea, and your job is to read the text. Okay, so the job is to read the text, and we have one word. On the right, we are given one word, for example, extreme for number 0, no for number 17, refer to number 18, popular for number 19, marry in relation to 20, fashion in relation to 21, etc. But your job, it's necessary to change the form of the word. So this word extreme is an adjective, the extreme heat, the extreme temperature. So extreme is an adjective. So this exercise, it's necessary to change the form. So the form is the adjective. So the answer could be a noun, it could be a verb, it could be a negative. So there's a few possibilities, and you need to try and identify the answer in relation to this. So number 0, they give you as an example extremely. So we change the adjective to the adverb. Okay, so tea is an extremely popular drink. Drink is the noun, popular is the adjective, extremely is the adverb, but the article is an because the word begins with the vowel. Okay, with many people, I will read quickly just for pronunciation. It is estimated that the consumption of tea in England alone exceeds 165 million cups daily. Despite this, the drink was virtually something related to no in England until about 400 years ago. The first, something related to refer to tea in England, comes in a diary written in 1660. However, it's something related to popular really took off after the something related to marry of King Charles II to Catherine of Braganza. It was her great love of tea that made it something related to fashion. Okay, and the final paragraph, it was believed that tea was good for people as it seemed to be capable of reviving the spirits and curing certain minor something related to ill. Okay, it has even been suggested by some historians that it played a significant part in the Industrial Revolution. Tea, they say, increased the number of hours that something related to labour could work in factories, as the caffeine in tea made them more something related to energy, okay, and consequently able to work longer hours. So it is estimated the consumption of tea, so the verb is to consume, and the adjective is, the noun is consumption. Okay, so that is the noun, and the verb is to consume. It's very typical with food. It's typical with drink and food. So consume. Consumption is the noun because we have the article the. Because we have the, it's the substantivo, it's the noun, okay, of tea. In is the preposition for the country. In Ireland, in England, in Spain, in Peru, in Bolivia, and also for the city, in Dublin, in Rome. So very important for the prepositions. Alone, it means only. So only in England. The consumption only in England. Exceeds, very good, very advanced vocabulary, the verb to exceed. And I think you understand the significance. So the temperature exceeds 20 degrees. So it goes over or it goes beyond to exceed. Okay. So here it's with the S because it's the third person. I exceed, you exceed, he exceeds, she exceeds, it exceeds. Because it's the third person, we have the S. That's very, very important because the verb to know, I know, you know, he knows. So the third person has the S. Very, very key and very, very important. Okay. The third person has the S generally in English in the present. Exceeds 150 cups daily. Despite this, this is very important because the word despite is a pesar de in Espanol, and we have two structures in English that are very important. So despite, and the second one is in spite of. And you need to be very careful and very, very careful because of is only with the structure in spite of only, okay, and despite is alone. So basically, we never, nunca, we never have of in relation to despite. Okay, this is the confusion, and many people make the mistake. So when you have the word despite, you eliminate of. And when you have the word in spite, you include of. Okay, the significance is the same, a pesar de, and you can also say the noun, or you can say the verb in the ing. So for example, despite the weather, or despite going, okay, or in spite of the weather, or in spite of going. So that's the general rule in relation to despite and in spite of. The next word is generally the substantivo or the noun, or it could be the verb but in the ing, and that's the gerundio in Espanol, the gerund. So despite this or in spite of this, no problem, this or that. You can say in spite of that, in spite of this, despite that, no problem. The drink is the subject. The verb is to be in the past. The drink was. Virtually is maybe the adverb or the adjective. Okay, probably the adverb. So it was virtually, which is like practically, almost, something related to no in England until about 400 years ago. So depending on the context of the sentence, I think there's only one option. And maybe now in Facebook, if you want to put your comment, you are welcome to put your answer. And in relation to the sentence, in relation to the context, the only possibility is unknown. And it is very, very typical combination, virtually unknown, which means practically unknown, which means almost unknown. So they are the typical structures and the typical combinations with unknown, okay? And it's very, very common with the word virtually. And for this reason, we identify and we can be confident that the word is unknown, because it's a very typical combination in books. It's a typical combination in text that you have virtually unknown, okay? So for this reason, it's probably the correct answer until about 400 years ago. The first, so here we have the article, the, and remember every article you need the noun, okay? And first is the adjective, so first is not the noun, so we still, todavía, we still need the noun. So for this reason, refer is the verb, and it's very typical with the preposition to, so you need to refer to the book, refer to the person, typical with the verb to refer to, but the noun is different in relation to the suffix, okay? And the typical suffix for to refer is the reference, okay? So because of this calculation, the answer is necessary, the reference. So the first reference to tea in England comes, arrives, appears, is shown in a diary, okay? So a diary is obviously when somebody writes their opinion, you write your plan in your diary, okay? That is the vocabulary. Written is the participle in 1660. So in relation to the year, we say in 2020, in 1919, in 2021. For the year, we use the preposition in. However is a clue, because however is a linker, but it's for contrast. Okay, I am happy in Ireland. However, the weather is very bad. So when you contrast two sentences, we use the word however. And in this situation, it's the same. Here, it is the possessive adjective. You remember my bottle, your bottle, his bottle, possessive adjective. So here we have possessive adjective. And when, so it's my bottle, your bottle, his bottle, its bottle. So when it's not the person, it's maybe the city, its culture. So its is the possession in the third person, but it's not masculine, it's not feminine, it's maybe the city, it's maybe an object, the possession of the object. So because it's a possessive adjective, we need a noun. My bottle, your bottle, and here, this is the secret, and this is the clue. Because it's a possessive adjective, the next word is necessary, the noun. Okay, so we can have confidence that the form of the word is probably the noun. Okay, and the word we have is popular, which is the adjective. So we need to find the noun of popular. It's a little difficult, but the only possibility is popularity. Okay, so the noun is popularity and the adjective is popular. So for this reason, the only answer possible here is the popularity. Okay, so its popularity, so it's related to the tea, the popularity of the possession of tea. The next expression is very important, the verb to take off. Okay, and it's typical with the aeroplane. When the aeroplane departs, or when the aeroplane leaves the airport, we say the plane in the past took off. Okay, so the take off is typical for the aeroplane. The opposite is to land. Okay, so the take off and to land. But we have another expression in relation to take off in a metaphor in relation to business. So if you have a business idea, you have a project, and you start the project, and the project is successful, we use the verb, the phrasal verb, to take off. So your idea in the past took off, or your business took off. The significance is it's very successful. Okay, and here the popularity started at the bottom, but the popularity took off. It grew, it grew, it grew. Good example of phrasal verb and a very good context of English. So an idea, a project, and a business can take off. Very, very good. Okay. There is one other context for take off, which is completely different. To take a person off is to imitate. Okay, so this is a second completely different significance. If I take you off, that's the significance I copy or I imitate your behavior. Okay, so that's a second possibility. But the first possibility is with the business, with the company, with the aeroplane for successful. After, so basically the popularity of tea was successful, it grew after the something of King Charles. And again, the verb is to marry. So the verb we have, but the instruction and the rule for this exercise, it's necessary always to change the form. And the form we have is the verb, so it's necessary to change the form. And again, we have the article, the house, the car. So remember, the article is connected to the noun. Okay, and for this reason, we have the article, so probably the answer is the noun. Okay, and the verb is to marry. The adjective is married, or you could be unmarried in the negative if you're single or unmarried or married. Adjective, adjective, adjective. And the noun is marriage. Okay, so marriage is the noun, and that's the family. So this is a very good exercise in relation to the family of words and the different forms and the different suffixes. Okay, so it really took off after the marriage of King Charles II and Catherine of Braganza. It was her great love of tea that made it. So the structure for number 21 is a bit advanced. To make something, for example, I make my dog happy, I make my friend happy. So that's the structure. To make someone happy means to do something to influence the feeling of the other person. So I give the fantastic bottle, the amazing bottle, I give the bottle to my friend, and this action makes my friend happy, of course. Okay, so here it made tea, and the word is fashion. So fashion is the noun. So in this case, we are given the noun, and the instruction is to change the form. So we need to look for the verb, we need to look for the adjective, we need to look for the adverb, and it's difficult, but this is important for your vocabulary. So the vocabulary for the adjective is fashionable. Okay, so fashionable is the adjective, and the negative would be unfashionable. Okay, very good adjectives, very good family of words. We would always say in fashion, and out of fashion is very typical as well for the negative. So if something is in fashion or out of fashion, or you can also say old fashioned. So these are the words, these are the vocabulary in relation to the word fashion. Trendy is very similar as well. So trendy is almost the same as in fashion. Fashionable is the adjective, which means very popular. Unfashionable is the negative with the significance not popular. Out of fashion, fuera de moda in Espanol. So it's not popular, it's old. Okay, and old fashioned. So very good vocabulary. Here, we probably need the adjective because the structure to make somebody happy. Happy is the adjective, and for this reason, it's the same rule with the next structure to make it fashionable. Okay, so a bit difficult, but very good exercise and really good activity to practice your English. Finally, the next sentence, it was believed in general tea was good for me, good for you, good for everybody, good for people, And remember the difference, we have one person, two people, one person, three people. It's irregular. Okay, the singular is person, plural is people. Okay, it is possible two persons, it is possible three persons, but only in a legal or a very formal context. Okay. As, remember yesterday we explained the significance of as has a few different significances. As here means because. So I go to the shop as I am hungry. I go to the shop because I am hungry. So as can mean because. It can also mean while. So I go to the shop as you go to the cinema at the same time, while. Okay, so as is very, very flexible. Of course, it can mean like, but it's a bit different and it's very flexible and very important. And here it means because. It seemed is appear, como parecer, the verb to seem. Okay, oh, sorry, there's the answers. So I go back to the verb to seem, okay, which is parecer in Espanol. It looked like, it appeared, okay, and these are the typical synonyms and the typical vocabulary that we use in relation to seem. So it seemed to be capable. So capable is a very good adjective. Ability is related. Able, capable, ability, disabled, enable. We have a lot of words in relation to able, but it's not part of the test today. Reviving, okay? So the verb is to revive, and it's maybe similar to Latin, which is vivir, like to live. So to revive, for example, the city at the moment is dead. There is nobody in the city is empty, it's dead. After the pandemic, we plan to revive the city. We plan to bring the city back to life. So it's related to live and life, and again, the verb is to live and the noun is life, and very important family of words. And to revive is to give life back to the situation or to the person, okay? Reviving the spirits in relation to the people, or also curing. So the next verb is curing, and this is the key for the answer for the exercise. And curing, certain, minor is very, very small. Certain is like particular, but the key is to cure. If you are sick, you take the medicine to cure your sickness. So ill is an adjective. It's necessary to identify the form of the word they give. So sick and ill are adjectives. The noun of sick is sickness, and similarly, the noun or the substantivo of ill, maybe you know it, is illness. Okay, so that's important. That's the noun, illness or sickness, and minor. But here, I think because we have the word certain, we use the plural, certain days, certain weeks, certain people. So generally, certain is used in the plural unless you specify the singular. For example, a certain day, a certain week. But here we have no a, so its assumption is it's the plural. Okay, certain days, certain weeks, certain years. And here minor is the adjective, so it would be illness. But a lot of people will write just illness, but it's necessary in the plural. Okay, so illnesses is the correct answer. A bit difficult. It has even, this word even is like incluso in Espanol. Everybody is going to the party, even Juan. Everybody is going to the party, even Joanna. Incluso, like including. Okay, it's for emphasis. It's very, very important, and it's very common and flexible in English because we say even if, we say even when, we say even though. These are typical connectors. They are typical linkers. They are very frequent. They're very important, and maybe they confuse you when people speak very quickly, but there's a lot of combinations with even. For example, musician, electrician. These are typical people, people, people. So the suffix Spain has a history, but the difference between story. So I tell you a story about yesterday. I tell you a story about the weekend. So there is a difference between history and story, and you need to be clear. Here, by some historians, that it played a significant part. That's the connection. Play a part or play a role. Okay, to play a part or to play a role. In Espanol, I think it's juega un papel. So to play a role in your life, to play a part in your life, in the cinema, in the movie, play a role in the movie. And here, the Industrial Revolution. T, they say, in general, es dicho, they say, increase the number of hours that. So when you have that, this is the relative pronoun, and normally after the relative pronoun, you have a new subject. Okay, so this is the watch that I love, for example. This is the bottle that I love. So after that, we typically have a new sentence and a new subject. Okay, so because of this, because we have the relative pronoun that, we probably need a subject. But labor is the noun, so it's not the person. So we need to find the subject, which is probably the person, in relation to labor. Okay, and you remember, IAN is a typical suffix for a person. Is it possible with labor? Laboran? Not really. No, it's not possible, because for labor, we say a laborer. Okay, and you have the suffix er, which is typical for a person. So it's irregular in English, and a laborer is the person who works. Okay, a construction worker is another name for a laborer. Okay, really, really good vocabulary and very, very important examples. So here, it's probably plural as well. So we have a laborer, singular, or one laborer, but because we do not have the article, we assume it's the plural. So the answer for number 23 is laborers. Interesting. Little detail is very important in these exercises. A lot of people forget the detail in these exercises, so that's the reason all the detail is very important. Could is the modal verb. You remember could is for possibility or option. Could, may, might, and the next verb is just the infinitive without the T. Could work, could go, could look, and here it's a good example. It's a modal, could, possibility, and option. The next verb is work, but we eliminate to. Okay? In factories, factory is the place where they construct and they make the products and they produce. Okay? So a product is the noun and the verb is to produce. Okay, very, very important difference between the noun and the verb, because the T changes to CE. Okay, factories, as the caffeine in tea, as here has a significance because. You remember the possibilities with as. It could be as, like, because, while. There are 4 or 5 possibilities for as, and here as has a significance because. The caffeine in tea made them more. Okay, and again, this is exactly the same structure from before. Make my friend happy. So it's typical with the adjective. Make my friend happy. And here, make them, the people, more. So energy is the noun. And we need the adjective. So the adjective of energy is energetic. Okay, very, very good example. It's the same rule, more or less, as previously. To make you happy, to make him happy. That's the structure with the adjective. And here it's the same, to make them plus the adjective, which is energetic. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Good exercise again. And that's the exercise. So really good exercise. I will put the exercise in the document below the video after the class. And it's a good exercise for you to review and to recheck. We have some good vocabulary in the article. We have some good expressions. We have phrasal verbs. We have grammar. And it's a very good exercise. Okay, so that's typical from Cambridge exams. The category is use of English, and it's a typical example of exercises from the Cambridge exam. Okay, so that's really, really good. Now I want to continue with idioms, but I just want to check that we're still live, because of course we had a lot of problems yesterday. So it looks like we are good. Fingers crossed. We have an expression in English to tempt fate. Okay, I don't want to tempt fate. Is perfect because normally when you say everything is great, everything is perfect, the next thing that just to be double check. Okay, perfect. Good. So yesterday skip the line, skip the queue, skip the party. You do not want to go to the party, so you skip the party. And that was the example yesterday. In this document, the next expression from me is very new. I have never seen this expression, a sleeping partner or a silent partner. Apparently, it's typical in business. A silent partner is the person who gives you the money to make the business, but is very quiet and has no interaction. So for me, it's not typical, but that's the expression here. A silent partner is the person who is involved in the business, who gives you the money, but maybe says no interaction. Okay, but the next expression is important, a slice of the pie. Okay, so the verb is to slice, and it's typical with the pizza. So you have the pizza and you slice the pizza, like separate or divide. That's the most typical context with food. If you slice the food, it's like to cut, but slice is representation of a portion. Okay, so the connection with slice is with a portion, distribution. So I have one slice of the pizza, but there are 20 other slices. So one slice, and this is a metaphor. Pie is like a cake. We have shepherd's pie in Ireland, which is a very typical dinner. Shepherd's pie. So a pie is like food. And just to give you the translation here, I think most people will understand it. But a pie in English, you can see in Arabic, Bulgarian, Chinese, Croatian, Czech, Dutch, French, pied, German, Hebrew, Hindi, Hungarian, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Polish, Portuguese, and Spanish. They say the same in Spanish, but I think maybe not. So it's a metaphor. If you have one slice of the pie, it's a metaphor in relation to economics. You want a bigger slice of the business. You want a bigger slice of the economy. So you want a bigger share or a bigger distribution. Okay, so it's very typical in economics, it's very typical in business that you want a bigger slice of the profit, a bigger slice of the money, and a bigger slice of the revenue. Okay, so a bigger, I'll just write the sentence. You want a bigger slice of the pie or of the cake is a metaphor in relation to the economy, that you want more profit, you want more salary, you want more money. Okay, very, very good. And in relation to the market, you can say the same. You want a bigger slice of the market. Good. Smash hit is very good. So the verb is to smash. Yesterday, we had a similar verb, but first the verb is to smash, typical with a bottle. So if the bottle is very fragile and it's glass and you drop the bottle, you smash the bottle. Okay, so to smash is very, very dramatic. The other verb we had yesterday was to shatter. So the adjective is shattered. It's a significance, you are very tired. If you are exhausted and you're very tired, you are shattered. And it's possible as well, smashed. You are smashed. But in relation to a record, so you have a record, which is the best level, the best score, and your friend smashes the record, that means your friend has a better result, a better score. Okay, so it's typical to smash the record, which is like to break the record. Okay, but a smash hit is related to music, because remember, hit is the verb impact and the noun is a hit. But if you have a smash hit, it's a big, big, big success, a very, very big success, a smash hit. So Beyonce, Lady Gaga, they all have had smash hits, big, big successes in relation to music. Okay, The next one's logical as well, snowed under. So obviously it's related to snow, la nieve, I think in Espanol, the weather when you have snow, but it's a metaphor. If you literally are snowed under in the weather, it's impossible to move. You cannot move because you are snowed under, or it's typical to say snowed in because you're in your house and it's impossible to escape. You are snowed in, but snowed under is the same, but it's a metaphor in relation to work. When you have a lot of work to do, you are snowed under. It's impossible to move, it's impossible to interact because you are covered and surrounded by snow. Okay. In English, you can say up to my eyes, up to my neck, hasta mi ojos in Espanol. And in English, we say up to my eyes in work, up to my neck in work. And they're the most typical expressions that we say. You are snowed under. And the next one is sooner or later. So this is a very common expression, very, very typical. You will travel again. You will travel to another city by plane again, sooner or later. Okay, so basically it means inevitably. So it is inevitable, adjective, inevitable, or inevitably is the adverb, but it is inevitable you will travel again because the pandemic will change and we will have the ability, fingers crossed, to travel again. So sooner or later, it does not matter, but eventually we will have the possibility again. So sooner or later is a very famous expression like inevitably or eventually. Okay. Sour grapes is a fantastic expression. Okay, sour is very similar to bitter, and in Spain you remember the drink bitter cas is the very famous drink of soda, but bitter is amargre, I think in Espanol, dulce y amargre. Okay, we say bitter sweet, which is dulce amargre, something like this in Spanish. But it's a metaphor for the person. If the person, la persona es muy amargre, sorry for my pronunciation, but a bitter person is the person who is very angry, who is very sad, who feels very bad. So a bitter person is maybe a negative person, and it's the same as sour person. So sour is related to the taste. When you taste the food is very sweet, it's very bitter, or it's very sour. Okay, and just to get the translation here, so you are sure, because maybe it's a little bit different from bitter and sour, you can see here, just to get the translation in Bulgarian, Dutch, French, agre, German is very similar, and then in Spanish, Polish, Portuguese, azedo, amargo. Okay, so it's almost the same. Bitter and sour are the same, I think, in Spanish. So a sour person is a very negative person, but we have the metaphor. The grapes are the uvas. So sour grapes is a metaphor for very bad relationships. So if you have a bad relation with your previous company, your previous business, you have a bad relationship, it's the same sensation when you eat the sour grapes. It's very, it's not good. So a bad relationship is you have sour grapes. Very famous, very typical. The next expression is very, very famous as well. A spanner in the works, very famous. Okay, the works is related to the machine. So when you have the machine, the big production, the big sheet machine, in the machine, they're the works. The works are the construction in the machine. The mechanics, the pieces of the machine are the works. So if you have a spanner is the object, herramienta, a tool, okay, a tool. And when you have a spanner is a type of tool. So to fix the bicycle, you need a spanner, okay, and when you put the tool into the machine, it's a disaster. The machine does not function because there's a tool or a spanner in the machine. Okay, this is a metaphor in relation to relationships, in relation to life. If you put a spanner into your plan, into your holiday, everything is prepared, everything is planned, but you have suddenly, de repente, suddenly you have a new situation and the spanner is in the works. It changes everything and it's impossible to function the same way. So a spanner in the works is very famous. It means you have a surprise and maybe it's impossible to function the same way as previously. Very, very good. Maybe it's a little insult. If you call somebody a spanner, it's possibly an insult. Okay, he or she is a spanner or is a tool. It has the significance that maybe they are a negative opinion. You have a negative opinion of them. So it's a little, not vulgar, but it's an insult, okay? So I'll put here insult. Speak of the devil is very, very famous, okay? So devil is, in Espanol, demonio, I forget, but you have the devil is the worst person in the world. You go to heaven and you go to hell. So the devil lives in hell, and we say speak of the devil. I think you say in Spanish, habla de rey de Roma. You say speak of the king of Rome. So, for example, me and my friend, we have a conversation, and I speak about Juan, a different friend, or John. So I'm talking about John to my friend, and suddenly John arrives, unexpected. And we say, oh, speak of the devil, because we were speaking about him already. He comes and we say, speak of the devil. Very, very famous. And again, in Spanish, I think it's habla del rey de Roma. Okay. And I think that's sufficient for the explanation for today. Okay. So really, really good. You are welcome now. If you want to join the meeting, I'll put the code here. If you want to practice some speaking, you are welcome to practice, and it could be a good opportunity for everybody in the class, and I can correct your writing or your speaking. That's one option. Remember today, the second possibility, we have the webinar today at 4 o'clock today. There's the Ielts webinar at 4 o'clock. We have 2 or 3 people confirmed already. If you want to attend, just contact me and I can give you the details, and we will focus on material in relation to the Ielts, and it could be very, very good. And that is the most important class for today. This morning we had the speaking class, so tomorrow you are welcome to attend the speaking class in the morning at 9 o'clock. You can connect with the WhatsApp group and you can book your place. It's open for everybody, and it's a good opportunity to practice. And for me, it's a good opportunity as well. Okay, so remember, everything is free at the moment. I'm very, very happy to teach for free, and I think you are familiar with my story, but these classes are for free. I stopped working in May, so before this project, I was working online, teaching people individually, teaching little groups, preparing for exams. Before the pandemic, I was living in Madrid, and that was perfect. Then I returned to Dublin, but finally it was very difficult to continue working online from home because we have a lot of people at home, and like everybody, people's routines changed. So I stopped from May until December, and finally now I have a very, very small space to continue working. Yes, we still have a lot of people working from home, and sometimes we have distractions and it's difficult to concentrate, probably similar to you. Excuse me, but it's a very good opportunity to continue, and hopefully I can continue from here. It's my job. Yes, I have support from the state and from the government, thankfully, until everything is able to return to normal and work can return to normal. But for the moment, it's a good opportunity for me to reconstruct and rebuild. And if you want to support me, if you want to make a little donation, it would be fantastic for the classes. Preferably, there are 3 or 4 options, but preferably by bank. There's the bank details. You have the IBAN and the BIC. So maybe a little donation of €1 would be a big, big help for me, or £1, or one, wherever you are, it doesn't matter. And the bank transfer would be very good. The second possibility is for Bizum, which is popular in Spain. And the third possibility is the application Revolut with the contact number. But again, it will be a great support and a great help for me with a little donation, and it will allow me to continue working in this way. Hopefully, I can continue working from here, and I can continue giving the free classes. And let's see what happens in the next few weeks, because everything is changing. I hope you are enjoying the new routine, and I hope everything is more or less okay. I know the restrictions are changing, but that's the plan. So that they are the details. If you want to help me, I will put the information at the bottom of the video at the end of the class, and that would be a big support. Okay, so I think that's everything. Again, social media is there if you want, on Instagram and YouTube, and that's all the details there if you want. So thank you so much, everybody. I hope we are still functioning online. I think yes, that's good. So I'm just going to check here and maybe see if we have any questions. No, I'll check after for the questions, but that's great. And thank you very much, everybody. And now I will try. This happened yesterday. I'll try to finish the class, but we had some difficulty yesterday. Okay, so I think I'll just end here. Again, thank you so much. I hope you can join the webinar today at 4 o'clock. It's in relation to the IELTS, and hopefully I will see you tomorrow in the morning. And again at 9 o'clock tomorrow we have the speaking class, and you are welcome to join. But I know some people are in different countries and with different times, so it's not possible. So have a very good day. Thank you all for watching live, and thank you everybody for watching on the recorded program as well. So have a great day, and hopefully talk to you soon, and thank you so much. Okay, so I think that's ended. I just have to press the button again.